Okay, hey everybody, welcome to another episode of On the Wrist from Off the Cuff. Today we have a really cool review for you from a new brand to the channel that I've definitely seen around and have been interested to check out. So I was happy to share this particular model with you guys from D1 Milano. They were founded in 2013 out of, you guessed it, Milan, Italy. Currently they do have offices though in Dubai and Hong Kong, and they're distributed in 28 countries and hundreds of stores. So this is no kind of small startup brand by any means. They definitely have quite a bit of reach. If you've seen their designs around, which I'm sure you have if you're watching this on YouTube, you can see there's definitely a clear kind of Gérald Genta steel sports inspired design aesthetic without it actually being a direct homage to any specific model reference, which I think is nice. It definitely pulls off a similar look, and honestly when you think about it, how many brands are out there that built their whole entire company based off looking aesthetically a bit like something else, namely the Rolex Submariner, right? So there's a lot of brands that have kind of built themselves off of very blatant Submariner homages, and here you have something that's paying more an homage to this design aesthetic without necessarily paying homage to a particular reference. So I think that's for me, it's all good, and the quality is surprisingly like finely executed. Like, I was, for the price point, I was expecting this honestly to have a couple of corners cut, and this thing is really nice. So with all that said, let's go ahead and take a closer look. Okay guys, so obviously apart from the really nice aesthetics here, one thing you're probably noticing is that, hey, this is a quartz watch because there's a little tick there on the seconds indicator. But if I engage the chronograph, you'll see it has a relatively nice little mechanical sweep to it, and that is because this is a Meca-Quartz watch. And I've reviewed many Meca-Quartz watches on my channel in the past, and I probably will continue. Everything from the original Meca-Quartz Seiko through many micro brands that are putting these movements in watches. And honestly, the past couple of years has been a real boom for these movements, and I can clearly see why. I mean, there's something that's really special about the fact that, yes, it is a quartz movement, but it has a mechanical gear train for I mean, that's just addictive almost. It has a great fidget factor to it. And really just a choice movement, especially in something that's going to be a more affordable watch. So with that boom, I mean, there's been brands charging $700-800 for Meca-Quartz powered watches. So I think it's really nice to see now. There's a lot of brands, even apart from Seiko. Of course, Seiko can probably always offer you the highest value because it's their movement, so they're definitely moving it in volume. But now we're seeing brands really take some time to put together something of great quality, and man, this is that. This is their Panda Chronograph from D1 Milano, and this thing's gorgeous, guys. So apart from the Meca-Quartz movement, let's just take a look at the finishing on here. Look at the beveling, the brushing, directional. Guys, this thing is and the crazy thing is this thing lays flat. Look at that. Now, a lot of these types of bracelets don't necessarily have the contouring and the cutting to make them lay. So a lot of them will almost like keep their, like this, basically you put it down and it has a silhouette into it because there's so much undercutting and intricate work that has to be done here that it actually makes it quite hard. And also, one thing is you have to balance, one, the fine transitions and sharpness of the execution, but also making it nice and soft by breaking some of these edges that are going to come in contact with the skin, which D1 has done an amazing job with. I would only assume that, that's something that they really perfected, considering most of their models do have basically this type of case and this type of integrated bracelet. So I'm sure through years and years of refinement now, they're really coming into stride. And I mean, this is something that is on a sub $500 watch, which is nuts. I mean, these are actually going for $445 direct. I'll leave a link in the description. The case width is 41.5 millimeters in diameter, 11 millimeters thick, with a 52 millimeter lug to lug with, all stainless steel, of course. It's brushed with a couple of really nicely done high polished finishes. And other things too that they did is they even worked in bevels but not high polish. So I think that's a really nice touch. They were selective with where they did that, but they still incorporated these great bevels here, as you can see, that do come down, but it's not a high polish. So it does set, give it a little bit of differentiation between some of the other models. They're not just all cookie cutter kind of different dials of the same case. There's actually some different finish choices and whatnot. And I think this thing looks really, really great. I'm actually gonna have to okay. Sorry about that. Had to sneeze. I don't know where that came from. Probably because my window was open. Okay. Yes. Seasonal allergies are real. Oh, wow. Sorry about that, guys. But anyways, this thing's awesome. Just look at the articulation, the multi-pieces here on this H-link bracelet. I mean, you almost don't even want to call it an H-link because the look is so different. I mean, it has that beautiful flat polish. This is really in style right now. There's a lot of brands that are coming out with these great flat polished links, and you can see why. Look at the way the light just catches on each one of these. It's just like a piece of armor. I mean, this thing is really, and then, is it nope. I mean, we can get some noise out of it, but this is a solid bracelet, and I mean, really much nicer than you'd expect for a watch that costs not only less than $500, but less than $450. I mean, it's $445. So really, really beautiful with this vertical brushing. The crown isn't screw down, but I mean, you wouldn't expect it to be in a watch like this, but it is really nicely shaped. It's not signed, but I don't think that's really a hit, because I think really the execution is really well done. And I think, you consider like what would they put on like D1. I think it's fine as is, and then you have the beautifully high polished pushers there, which look absolutely great. A little bit about the Meca-Quartz movement. We'll get it going again for you. All right, so some things that are special about it that you might not know. You might hear Meca-Quartz. But basically, these VK movements are really nice. It basically uses a quartz timing, but mechanical chrono action. And basically, it's a 1/5 second interval timer sweep. So it's going to be like 5 ticks in between a second versus your typical 8 ticks or 6 ticks. So it's only slightly slower than an actual mechanical watch. Of course, this does take a strain on the battery. But these VK series movements are really outstanding. I mean, honestly, I'll probably even do a dedicated episode just to Meca-Quartz, because I have so many of them. I even switch out the batteries on my own. Maybe I can give you guys some tips and tricks, and just kind of dedicate a whole segment to them. But these are fun little watches, and basically one of the big differences is that they actually will snap back because it's mechanical. It's not going to be controlled by the quartz when it snaps back into place. It's a mechanical snap, so when it disengages, it just goes right home where it needs to be. So really beautiful from that standpoint. Really, the chrono mechanism consists of over 20 individual parts, similar to a mechanical chronograph gear train. So you have all that basically in here. So, although this isn't the thinnest watch, I mean, at 11 millimeters, it's actually quite thin. For a chronograph, of course, if you guys have ever worn a mechanical chronograph, they can be much, much thicker. So that's one of the nice things by having a quartz chronograph. Plus, you're getting, of course, some of the simplicity and accuracy that also comes along with quartz watches in general, and also the cost saving. So I think that's really a nice touch, especially since you're really not paying too much for this. I mean, the case and bracelet alone are just insane. And then, of course, you do have a sapphire crystal with AR coating. I mean, it's tough to argue with a package that's this conclusive. You do have applied indices, as you guys can see. really well done. You have, of course, that nice white. It's a really nice shade of white, almost kind of an eggshell tone of white. Still renders very much white, though. It doesn't look silver, doesn't look quite ivory. I think it's a really nice, even kind of satin tone of white there. Then you have the black subdials, you know, which definitely screams that kind of panda dial look, which is definitely very desirable. And I think it's really cool that they combined some really desirable elements into one single package. I mean, so there's if you want that kind of steel sports Gérald Genta look, and you're also shopping for a Meca-Quartz watch, this, and also not to mention if you're looking for something with an extremely high quality bracelet. I mean, this thing is near luxury level of finishing there. So really beautifully done. You do have, of course, there's no loom on here. I wouldn't expect there to be. They do have loom on some of their other models, which maybe we'll be able to review in the future. Let me know in the comments below if you'd be interested to see that. Water resistance wise, this is 100 meters water resistance. So that means it is nicely sealed up and you know, screwed down pretty securely here. It does have integrated lugs, as you can see there, from this beautiful strap that tapers from about 28 millimeters down to 17 and a half when you come to the end of the taper. The connectors are push pin, but they're nicely executed, guys. I can't really fault them at a watch that's in this price range with this level of finishing, because it's kind of a trade-off, right? I'd rather have this with some push pins versus taking some of the quality off of it and maybe saving some money and redirecting it towards screw links. So I can't really be mad, especially when functionally it does an amazing job. But let's actually go ahead and get a closer look, get this piece on wrist next. Okay, guys, on my 7¼ inch wrist, you can see this thing wears quite well. Look at that bracelet. I mean, I'm absolutely blown away by the quality in this little watch. I mean, this thing is nuts. Of course, you know, for a square designed watch, this is pretty large at 40, almost a 42 at 41 and a half. But for a chronograph, that's actually a really nice size. So the nice thing is, it's not like you have this big empty dial. The dial actually has really nice spacing on it. You do see they do even have the reverse date there, which I thought was a nice touch. Of course, they probably could have made it blend away a little bit more by using a white date disc with black font, but I think it kind of pays more tribute to the Panda dial, you know, and that kind of reverse contrast there. And man, I'm just blown away by this bracelet, guys. Look at this thing. Up close, doesn't look oversized. Of course, it lays super flat. Get another... Why not? Get it going. Give you guys a little bit of visual interest to watch that secondhand sweep. Also, just the absolutely lovely. I mean, I'm really impressed with the fit and finish on this thing. I mean, especially maybe it's because it has a Meca-Quartz movement. I feel like so many companies now that put Meca-Quartz movements in the watches, it's really more for kind of this retro, very tool, you know, vibe, and to have a company that really is putting it in a casing and bracelet combination that is so just, you know, on a level of just luxury style and finishing there, it just makes it really different than most other you know, watches that are like this. So really nice from that standpoint. Although this doesn't have any loom, what we'll do is we'll do some low light transition and get into some closing thoughts. All right, guys, we'll go ahead and hit the lights. So as you can see, no loom, but you know, this is not some hardcore sports watch by any means. But what I like to do in these low light transitions is really give you guys an idea of what the finishing and the color play will render like in less than optimal lighting, because my studio lights here do a great job of kind of simulating direct sunlight as if you're out in the middle of a beautiful day out in a park or something, with very clear visibility. But it also ends up washing out a lot of little details. So in these high, you know, really harsh, higher contrast lighting situations, it gives you some telltale signs about the finishing. You can look at the depth of the brushing. Man, this is just so sharply done, but not sharp to the touch, sharp to the eye, which is a beautiful balance, guys. It's not every company does that. A lot of them, hey, one is equal to the other. Let's just make it sharp and it feels sharp. This thing is actually butter on the wrist and actually quite sharp to look at as well. Oh man, the way the light just glides over that brushing is absolutely killer. Huge fan of this one when it comes to fit and finish. The build quality is super impressive. They do have some other models too that are automatic that I might like to check out. I feel like almost when you get into automatic movements though, and then with something with such a high quality case and bracelet like this, you kind of want there to be some kind of higher class choices that are made. But it's also a Seiko movement. They have a skeleton one that's actually pretty nice. But generally, you know, again, they're really trying to have that value proposition, and it's a trade-off, right? So you might not get the smoothest sweeping movement, but what you do get is absolute masterclass fit and finish. Obviously, the design is absolutely fantastic, stands the test of time, really quite handsome. You know, closing thoughts on the wrist, it wears like a sporty chronograph should. Definitely has great wrist presence. As far as model variations go, there's many variants available. Definitely check the links below for availability. There's blue dials, black, silver dials with various coating and finish and even strap and bracelet options as far as the materials go. And then of course there's the other model lines in general that aren't the Meca-Quartz chronographs. But these things are absolutely killer just from this particular, I mean, I've had first-hand, you know, exposure to this model, and I'm really a huge fan of it. As far as comparable models go, you know what, guys? There's a ton of Meca-Quartz powered chronos that are out there, but honestly, there are a few that feel this solid and offer this level of case and bracelet refinement, you know, regardless of the price point. Like, I'm struggling to think of a more expensive Meca-Quartz watch that's built better than this. I mean, it's just really, it's absolutely fantastic. Bottom line, guys, you're getting a lot of fun. Obviously, the Meca-Quartz movement, it's a lot of fun. You know, in a very stylish and affordable, well-spec'd package, guys. So, I mean, with the additions of course, anti-reflective sapphire. I mean, they're doing things here. This case, this bracelet, pretty much everything is to such a high spec to, I mean, honestly, a watch that probably should cost a good amount more. They just happen to put in a very affordable movement in there. And not only affordable, but quite desirable, judging by how popular it is these days. So with all that said, let me know what you guys think in the comments below. If you liked the video, please do a like. And if you haven't already, please subscribe for more content just like this. Thanks, guys.